Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. What is my name? My name is Omenovish. And we make mostly bookish content, and today we're gonna talk about my year-long book haul. I hope you'll stay till the end. We're here for book hauls. And my video won't be a video without cocks crowing in the background. They're saying hi, so let's get this started. The yogic sages that all the pain of a human life is caused by words, as is all the joy. We create words to define our experience, and those words bring a tender emotion that jackals around like dogs on a leash. We are seduced by our own mantras, like I'm a failure, I'm lonely, I'm a failure, I'm lonely, and we become monuments to them. To stop talking for a while, then, is to attempt to strip away the power of words, to choke ourselves with words, to liberate ourselves from our suffocating mantras. And the first book on this haul is Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. We did have a rough time starting this book, but it reached a point where the momentum picked up, the topics picked up. I was like, I need more. So this book follows Elizabeth in her early 30s, in a time where she had just, or she was in the process of divorcing her husband, and then she had this relationship, this toxic, choking relationship that wasn't even, it has its hot and cold moments. It starts with describing her breakdown. It was just, she just threw us in bush. And that can be quite scary for some people. What I loved about this book is that she is raw, she is candid, she doesn't hold back anything, and she is quite descriptive. It's a non-fiction, but you feel like you're in a story, a fictional story. I also enjoy the fact that she talked about meditation and spirituality. Back then, when I was a bit way younger, I used to meditate. I swear I will just go in the lotus position, freaking close my eyes, tell my thoughts to stop, and just within maybe 1 minute at most, they will stop, and I will just stay in that position for like 15 minutes, and it was the most freaking blissful state that I have ever been in this life. But life happens. I kind of like dropped that habit, and once you drop something, you will have to start from square one. It's just like a runner. When you stop running, your muscles atrophy. So my meditation muscles atrophied, but that thing really helped me at the time in my life that I was having the most roughest kind of experience, and it just kept me grounded, it kept me focused. So we were trying like to get back to it, but I'm really struggling. Close my eyes, tell my mind to shut up, and that's the time like, you remember that guy, you remember what he did, you remember you're supposed to finish that blanket, you're supposed to review that book. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So it's been a struggle. And Elizabeth also talked about her struggle when getting into meditation, and I was like, oh, so this is normal, this is part of the process. I had quite an amazing time with that book. I was expecting more of some sexing. It was there, but it wasn't there. Filthy person. But I had an amazing time with that book. I had an amazing time. I can't wait to read more from Elizabeth Gilbert. Also, big magic about creativity. And I can't wait. The second non-fiction is How to Win Friends. What am I saying? How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is not your typical... Oh, Stitch! This is not your typical self-help book. I know some people are rolling their eyes like, but this is not your typical self-help. It gives practical instances of how people used their knowledge of the human behavior to influence somebody's view of, like, for example, a certain job. Like my niece, I find her watching the TV and she's supposed to be doing her chores. I don't go there like ordering her, funga your TV, turn off the TV and go do your duties. No. You just come in a way that I'm asking her, wouldn't it be better for you to pause the TV, do your chores, and then from then on, You can watch as much TV as you want. And she will sit and say, you have a point. Pauses, does a job. As in simple things that we humans take for granted. For example, remembering somebody's name. There's something powerful about somebody's name. For those who are in love, you know those first days when you could hear the name or your name on your lover's tongue, how it used to get you. Yeah. Now imagine if you're in a crowd, maybe you're a politician or you're in business, remembering this person's name, you're like, hi Dan, I really love your presentation. You're like, okay, you're really paying attention if I remember my name. Simple things like that. The fact that ordering people sometimes doesn't work, it's better just to question them, will it be better for you to do this way? And then they will come to their own conclusion. It is so much easier for an idea to come from this other person instead of me feeding them my idea. As in, it had quite a number of simple anecdotes to use on people. Not that forceful, easy, simple. Sometimes it might not work. Human behavior sometimes can be quite unusual. Sometimes it might not hit the mark, but most of the time, and given that it has stories of people who used these lessons, you can see how effective it is. And the fact that their stories as in it just motivates you to put the lessons into practicality. The thing about some self-help books, if not most, is that you have to put these things that you learn into practicality and not just trying it once or twice or thrice, because it's like trying a new habit and they say it takes 21 days to create a new habit, 90 days to make it a lifestyle. So you have to put what you read into practice. Sometimes I forget. But one thing I really loved about this book that reminded me is that arguing doesn't help anything. And life has become so blissful. Yeah, there's arguing and then there's debate. I am open to debate. We usually debate, but arguing, no. That's a habit that we are dropping this year. We're living it in 2022 when we're going to 2023. So, will I recommend this book? Yes, I will recommend. I do not recommend non-fiction like this ones because some people are like, oh. But this one I highly recommend. The other non-fiction book is The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. If you watched my pirated video, you know why I'm saying. But I love this book. The first time I read it, was in an ebook. It talks about your subconscious mind. Apparently, we as humans use a very, very small portion of our mind. This happens to be the subconscious mind. This happens to be the most powerful faculty that you ever own. But most of us are busy just ingesting things from the outside, You're just there. But the point of learning, the point of education is getting something out of yourself. And this is where the subconscious mind comes in. This is how you create your life. I know some people are like saying, I see where you're going, Michelle. Yes, it does. Okay, if you're a person who's really interested in the law of attraction, the law of the minds, you can see the correlation. But given that some laws, these universal laws like the law of electricity, the law of gravity, those are things beyond us, but something that is there with you, something that you can modify, because that's your power, is the power of your mind. So that's the only way you can take charge of who you are. It has example. I love when these books have examples of people using a certain lesson, a certain method, and it turned out positive. It has plenty of that. I am here for such. I have been binging books about the mind, about the law, and it's just been blissful. But it's just a beautiful, beautiful freaking book. If you have heard me talk about Neville Goddard, these two were students of the same teacher, so their works almost correlate, but they digress at some point. There's so many ways to get to the mountain, so I love this book. I don't know if you're interested in your mind and you're curious scientist, get a book. The next book is Pilgrim, Onyeka and the Academy of the Sun. I really enjoyed this book. It follows Onika, a girl who has quite the hair. Why do you say the hair? Because the hair, it's the hair. What? Not hair with those 2 years. The hair. So she lives in the UK, but initially they used to live in Nigeria because of a few weird circumstances, which she wasn't privy to. Her and the mother moved to UK. Life there wasn't easy. She was quite being bullied because of her hair. It was those kind of hairs are kinky. Then during some times, she was swimming with her best friend who didn't quite know how to swim. So in the process, she drowned because Onyika was really panicking. Something happened. Her hair took charge, and they happened to save the best friend. I don't think so many people noticed this, but once they went to the hospital and then now they were recapping what happened, the best friend was like, "But how did you do it, Onyika?" And then some weird things started happening because she's a young teen, body changes, hormones. Now that's when it started affecting the powers of her hair. The power of the mind, the power of the hair. Well, hair is important. And then from then on, she goes on a journey, starts asking her mother questions. And why are you vague about my dad? Why are you vague about my future? Why are you vague about my past? And then the powers start becoming more and dangerous because teens with their anger rages. So the mother decides to pack up, go back to Nigeria, look for the husband because they're trying now to patch things up, see why the husband, before they moved to the UK, sent her a message that they should run as fast as possible. There's a whole story of rogue people trying to use people with power, greed. There was a mix of greed. Colonialism was also talked about, imperialism. For a really great book, it was really packed, and not in a way that it's gonna overwhelm this child. It was quite enjoyable. It's a 2-part story. We're waiting for book 2. Book 1 just got released. Was it in July, if I'm not wrong, or in June? This was an arc copy, and I quite enjoyed it. It feels so nice to read fantasy that revolves around Africa, something relatable, relatable. Yeah, relatable. I gave it 4 stars. That being said, the next story is Ugly Dogs Don't Cry by D.D. Armstrong. I'm yet to read this book. I've been in a slump, so some things have been on the back burner. But the story has its influence of Mice and Men, which I haven't read, so I cannot really tell you what's about. So let me read just a bit of the blurb. Best friends Kyle and Siddiq are beginning their first year of college in West London. Siddiq, a talented aspiring artist, spends his time perfecting his artwork and hanging out with friends while having to learn how to process the harrowing events of his past. Kyle's ambitions are to become a rapper and a successful businessman. Though the deep bond of friendship formed between Kyle and Siddiq puts them on a path to achieve their dreams, college soon brings with it serious teenage social politics and a bullying that terrorizes their friend group. As they navigate new friendships and love interests, will the two boys continue to fortify each other and help each other succeed, or will their newfound stressors in their lives pull them apart forever? Okay, sounds interesting. Will I read it by the end of this year? We don't know. No pressure. Because as of October 2022, there's no curated TBR. We're just going on the shelves and picking books. Boom, boom. The other book in the teen category is Melt by Celine Castrovilla. I had an amazing time with this book. It's heavy. It's heavy. It's a brutal love story, also inspired by the Wizard of Oz, or set against the backdrop of the Wizard of Oz. I love the way the author delivers the story. I love when authors are very intentional about the stories. So we have 2 main characters. One is Dorothy, Wizard of Oz, because I know the main character, his name is Dorothy, and the other is Joey. So Joey comes from an abusive family. Woo! I swear, I swear. Sometimes when you hear or read about other people's stories, you're like, God, thank you for the family I come from. You know, sometimes you're really complaining about your family, but you don't know the shit is happening out there, especially behind closed doors. So Dorothy happens to have moved. Dorothy happens to have moved to a new town and meets up with Joey. Joey in this setting is dubbed as the bad boy, but I understand him. I understand why he acts how he acts. Once you have the background of someone, you can understand. So, told in two point of views, Dorothy's and Joey. Dorothy is quite, how do I explain this? Her chapters are clean, clear, straight cut. When it comes to Joey's chapters, it's told in verse, no full stop, emotions just flow, thoughts just flow, you know. From Dorothy, you get a sense of calmness, a bit of sense of calmness, and then from Joey, you feel that tension, that emotion, that hurt, that pain. I was like, oh, wait, cool, hot, cool, hot. But the thing about this book is that these two developed feelings for each other, and I love the fact that the author did like glorify making the heroine the hero of this young man. As much that as Dorothy had influence on Joey, she was not out there to save him. He told him exactly that I will not save you, it will be hard to you. That is a very good message. It's not your job to save others. No, you can guide them, and then they will do the rest. I had a time, and it read so fast for a huge book, heavy book. It read so fast. We're supposed to have a live session with the author sometime in October. I hope we'll come through, because I have questions and I'm curious. Writing such books can be. I am a person who feels. You just feel. So imagine an author who sits down and imagine this thing. How do they deal with their mental health? You know, the other author that does the same is what's your name? What's your name, sir? Nicholas Sparks. I've never seen the romance. Okay, there's a bit of romance, but the books that I've read, I'm like, hey, that was just sad. A message in the bottle, sad. Nights in Rodanthe, sad. Jesus. Anyway, I am digressing. For the rest of the books, most of them I've not read, so we'll just go through them fast because I don't want this to be long. It seems like we're almost 20 minutes in. We got Love from Zimbabwe. Mad big up to Samantha. Robinzai Wazure of Heart Canelian Publishers. Thank you so much for sending this book. Thank you so much for believing in me that I can make an impact by reviewing and creating content about the books that your publishing house puts out there. It's such a deep honor. The first book is 3:15 a.m. and Other Stories by Rudo D. Maniri. I watched the live of this book launch. She lives in the UK, and there's something she said. She said it's one thing to put your books out there, and it's another to put quality books out there. She was like urging us as Africans that we also need to put quality things out there, not just putting books. And if you look at the state of this book is gorgeous. It's smart. Actually, you can find these copies at Nuria. You can also use my discount code Empress Express. You'll get 7% off your purchase. You can use the code unlimited number of times. Obviously, I will get something from that discount at no extra cost to you. So yeah, you will be supporting this young artist. So this story, I am not a fan of short stories. Let's just start there. I am not a fan of short stories. The other book that I've read of short stories is Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. But the thing about his stories is that they all seem interconnected. They also seem to have many recurring themes. So as much as they were short stories, it felt like I was reading the story of his life. Trevor, no, I'm still waiting on another book because you left me hanging. That's how much I loved your book. So this year I wanted just to have an open mind and read much of short stories. I think this is the first I've read this year. Will I read others? We don't know. And I had quite a blissful time. This is Rudo's debut novel. I immensely enjoyed it. It mainly revolves on the happening of Zimbabwe. And while I was reading this book, I realized that we as Africans, we have one common theme, you know, colonialism and the segregation we underwent. And then after they left, there's that thing about now tribals. We are because of the segregation, you know, we are fighting against each other. There was a story that really touched on this. My God, there were themes of, you know, colonialism, tribalism, love, loss. She does talk about the migration experience, Karwane. I really enjoyed Karwane. I've not read much of experiences about these people who migrate to the UK, for example, because most of people are there. And there's a bit of horror, the 3:15 a.m. and other stories, ghost stories. I don't think I'm a fan of ghost stories. I have an over-imaginative mind, and at night I would start dreaming things. But I had an amazing experience with this. I gave it 5 stars, 4.5, 5 stars. Yeah, that's how much I enjoyed it. The next book is Painting of the Mirage by Samantha Rumbideri. This follows a young lady. It's about a coming of age UK born Ruva who is raised in a privileged, dysfunctional Zimbabwean family and returns to live in the UK at the age of 18. Ruva yearns to escape her toxic childhood, but relocation to the UK invokes a bitter confrontation with her illusionary upbringing. And she realizes that she does not need to continue conforming to the dictates of her past. As Ruva navigates life in the UK as a first-generation immigrant, she begins to understand what it means to be Black minority living in a meritocracy. During a journey of learning to live independently, Ruva stumbles into marriage. Will the grass that seemed greener live up to our expectations? We have still not yet read this book. I've heard great things about it. So yeah, again, you can find it from Nuria. The next book is an anthology of short stories by Zimbabwean women. Hopefully, I will read this by the end of the year. It's Tacos Dreams, and it's compiled by Samantha. So the awesome thing about reading short stories or an anthology is that you have different authors with different stories, different themes, different messages, and that can be quite rewarding. My only fear is that just one story, just one freaking story, might take the pleasure out of the experience. But again, I am open-minded. I am looking forward to this. Designed to amplify the authentic voices of emerging writers, this short story collection depicts life experiences through the eyes of women in modern-day Southern Africa, with contributing writers from Matembeleland, Midlands, Masivingo, Mashonaland, and Manicaland. The stories portray post-colonial struggles amidst societal degradation within a declining economic environment in Zimbabwe and beyond its borders. Ooh, we're ready. Okay, from Sudan. Happy welcome Sudan in the heart. This book is Whispers of a Brewing Dawn by Marial Awindat, a Sudanese. Marial dares to dream and to share his dreams, drawing us into a world of searing constants, fire and water, beauty and ugliness, love and rage, darkness and light, war and resistance, God and the devil. In the process, he considers existential questions. What is the purpose of suffering? What is the purpose of suffering? How do we define freedom? Can hope flower from pain? Surreal images leap off the page to startle our perception and embed themselves in our consciousness. The poems reverberate with a haunting musicality, floating like water lilies on the Nile, pulsing like fires in the desert night. I can't wait for this. It's poetry. This year we said yes to more poetry, and I can't wait. I can't wait. The other poetry that I'm currently reading is The Cremation of the Scarecrow by Dzikamai Chando. By Dzikamai Chando. It's been quite an experience. He is intense. Ooh, he is intense. He is deep. His writing style is. That's why I'm taking my sweet time, because some poetry you can't read. You can't read them fast as you want. You can't read them fast, so you just take your sweet freaking time. The other one is Before the Next Song by Mafubo Clement Chiot. I had an amazing time with this one. It was once a set book in Zimbabwe, and I can see why. He goes in deep, he goes in hard, he talks about war, he talks about peace, he talks about colonialism, he talks about love, he talks about loss. There was a story on cancer, yes, because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but this was not necessarily cancer. Oh, it's here, dangerous disease. No, it's not a one. But I love with it when we just don't focus on love. Michelle, you hear that? Huh? Huh? I had an amazing time. I gave it 4 stars. It was such an awesome experience. The packaging of the book is as quality as the content of the book. You know what I mean? The next book, Clap When You Land. Let me be honest. I was so excited when I got this book. It was a present from one of my friends, Frankie. Hi, Frankie. And she was like, the story is written in verse. First time I'm reading a book in verse. At least it opened the door for melt. It's told by two young girls who had the same father. They weren't aware of that until the dad died on a car crash. I'm a liar. You were a liar. Woo! A liar. The dad died on a plane crash. Both of these point of views are told in verse. The other one is, I love when authors are that intentional. One talks in the Trinidadian. The other one is from Trinidad and Tobago, so the dialect, the delivery, the verses have a hint, they have a taste, they have a footprint of the Trinidad culture. At first, I was really, really scared, because sometimes poetry, as much as from whatever angle you're reading them, it was just not sinking. But once I got to page 5, I realized I need to relax, because now I was enjoying what I was reading. Character 1 has this amazing, beautiful way of expressing herself. Character 2, because she wasn't aware of this other side of her father, full of emotions. As in, it's like throwing. She's just throwing. There's no like formula. But I also enjoyed that. There's that, this side of getting this side of getting this. I had an amazing time. Clap when you land. You need to read the book to understand why they clap when you land. What? I had an amazing time. I want to read more from Elizabeth Acevedo. Yes. So I don't know where should we go next. Let's talk about a bit of Africa. We have The Prisoner of Fate by Akin Bogun. Wow, we have names. The Prisoner of Fate, and then we have The Blood in the Water by the same author. The Waste of Sin by the same author. This is quite ingenious. They're short novellas. I have read this one. He writes mostly thrillers. I enjoyed it. I felt like there was nothing new. There was a bit of mystery. I think that was what kept me going. The thrill part, it was a bit of a miss. But, I'm yet to read this, so I cannot tell you what happens. This follows a blogger, a journalist, Benjamin, who wakes up one afternoon, receives a text from his former boss, who was dead. And now he's out to, find out what the heck is happening. At first, I thought that maybe Benjamin killed the boss, so that's why it destabilizes his life. That would have made it more thrilling, because you killed someone and then they start texting you. But oh well, I enjoyed the mystery, nothing new. I'm yet to read this, but this, I think, it follows two couples who have drama. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. The next book is Mandate of the People by Margaret Ogola. I enjoyed this book. It was hopeful. It revolves around politics. We shall not get into that. It was published posthumously. It follows Leo Agade, a young man who comes from a poor background and was determined to make it in life. He did just that, and in the process, he went back to the village, formed a conglomerate to help these young youths out there. They started farming. It was quite successful, and in the process, met a Muslim lady who inspired him or motivated him to join the political scene. And that's where it gets gory. There's quite a number of politicians who want this Migodi South seat. Some are really vicious. You will see commentary on which doctor things. Violence, betrayal. But Leo is the definition of hope in a time when there's so many rogue politicians, and there's some things that she said in here like, well, oh, you have a point there. Are we still there? Have we met our Leo? Have we met that person who will make me next time go out and vote? And there's this quote that I love from the book that says, I know you are poor, but taking money from any candidate makes you less worthy in his eyes. He can go to parliament and sleep for 5 years because after all, he has paid for your services. You very cheaply at that. For 500 shillings, you will have sold your right to demand a better life for yourself and your children. Excuse me, cuckoos, I am trying to make a video. And your children, and you will have no right to expect any better. Deep. I hope one day, or is my toxicity, my optimistic toxicity showing? The next book is Beer Pressure by Otieno Opondo. I am yet to read this book. My slump has really fucked me up. I was supposed to read them during September, a month that Kenyan bookstagrammers dedicate to read Kenyan literature. But it's okay because I've been reading Kenyan books all year round. Plus Timon Onyuelo. It says that Timon's path towards a better future is paved with several landmines. As an impressionable teenager, his friends pressure him into taking his first sip of beer. He finds out, and the ensuing punishment sears the fear of beer into his consciousness. And I think from then on, there's a bit of, beer pressure. I don't want to spoil because I want to go in blind, so that's where we'll stop. Will it be hopeful? I do not know. Will it be realistic? We shall see. The other book is The Leaves of May by Mudhoni Maina. I reached chapter 4. Actually, chapter 4. I'm yet to finish it. Thank you, Slump, for putting me in a slum now. Yeah, I've finished my books. It's a multi-generational story that follows 3 women who are connected by a very gory past. I know where she's going. Hi, Africans, we have a lot to unpack. Hey, I almost forgot to include drafts by Nkosile Sisa Kwanele Nkubi. 100 letters I will never send. This was my most anticipated read for this year. I saw this book on Charlaine Harris' website and I knew I would want to read them. I'm almost like a quarter way through, and these are 100 letters that are deep felt. They are true, they are candid, they are raw. From friends, from family, boys, God, a million little things, and I was deeply enjoying them. We call them epistolary. Yeah, it's epistolary. The yogic sages say that all the pain of a human life is caused by